So hi everyone, my name is Paloma. I am one of the undergraduate XR lab assistants, and today we are doing a workshop that will be focusing on introductory animation in Maya. So for an overview, by the end of this workshop, you should be able to know how to do some of the basics like importing figures into Maya, how to use Mixamo, how to set up a project, keyframing animations, and using the Arnold renderer, and then also how to make a GIF using Photoshop with your rendered Arnold animation. And also how to add HDRI lights into your scene for more light. Okay, so for the setup, we want to make sure that we have Maya installed. Usually like 2019 to 2022 would be good. And also just quickly create a folder to keep all of your files and everything organized, and find a reference pic, or you don't have to have one, but if there's something that you specifically would like to replicate. Today I'm trying to replicate this picture of when I was in California. It's on Hollywood side. And also have a background that you would like to use later on, but we can find that later. And an important note is that we want to be saving as we go, because Maya is very unpredictable and sometimes it crashes. Okay, so the first thing we're going to want to do is find our character. So we're going to go on this website called Mixamo, M-I-X-A-M-O, Mixamo.com. And then basically, I'm just gonna log out quickly. And then basically what you're going to do is that you're going to log in. It's completely free. I just personally like to log in with Google, and I just use my NYU account to log in. So once everyone is logged in, what we're going to do first is that Mixamo has a bunch of characters and animations, but today we're going to be using it to get a character and then pose it in a T-pose. So you're going to click on characters and then scroll through and pick a character that you like. There's like a wide variety of characters. Today I'm using my own imported figure. It looks like me because I got a 3D scan, and that's what I'm working with today, but there's a bunch of Mixamo characters that you can pick from to animate. Some are more majestic looking, some are more realistic looking, up to you. So next, now that we have the character selected, we're going to click on animations. And typically with like Mixamo, you can pick like a bunch of different animations and it'll just add it to your character. But today we're going to use T-pose because we're going to animate it ourselves. So you're going to type T-pose in the search bar, and then it will just show your character like this. So now we're going to download our character. So you want to keep it with the settings of the FBX binary, the one that is already pre-selected, with skin, 30 frames per second, and keyframe reduction, none. And we're just going to download it. Okay. So now that we have that saved, we're now going to open Maya, and right here. Cool, so this is what the opening of Maya looks like, and we're just going to say new scene. And what we're first going to do is that we're going to go into the file settings right here, and we're going to scroll down to set project. Wait, actually, no. We're going to set it to project window, and project window will create, you'll click new project, and we're going to name it. So XR demo, that's what I'm calling it. And I'm just going to pick the location of where this file is going to stay. Just gonna keep it here. Okay, and select. So this is creating, this is where all of the files for your Maya scene and your Maya scene is going to live. and we're just going to say accept. After we set the project name and the location, it's going to say accept. And now we're ready to start working in Maya. So now that we have Maya open to get some, we're going to go where our T-pose downloaded to. I have mine right here. And we're going to drag our model into the scene, just like this, drag and drop. What we're going to do is that we're going to, in case for some people, the Mixamo, it might import with the joints very large. In case your joints look very large, what we're going to do is that we're going to go into display, animation, and then we're going to say joint size, and then we're going to bring it to like about 0.1. I mean 0.01 or 0.02. And then this will make it so that the joints are nicely inside of the body. Once we have all of our joints inside of the body, and it looks similar to this, so we just have our character standing in a regular T-pose, but there's no skin on it. You're going to press 6, and then that should display the skin of your character. In case you have a situation where your skin's imported separately from your character, what you're going to do is that you're going to press on your character, the whole mesh, and then in the color section right here, you're going to say a file, and then once you have the file, you're going to guide it to exactly where the skins of your character is. So in this situation, and this will also be very useful if you choose to manually make like changes like the colors of your characters, and you want to like link it to like a Photoshop file or a different picture. This will be very helpful. So that's how you can manually link the files back to link the skin onto your character. So now that we have our character right here, what we're going to do, just to get familiar with the controls, we have the selection tool right here, the lasso tool, we have the move tool, the rotation tool, and the scale tool. Typically for animating, you're probably going to be using a lot of the move tool and the scale tool and the rotating tool to like move the joints. So first we're going to select our character and the rig by clicking the shift key. So you'll see the Mixamo hips, and then the rig, and then the mesh. And then we're going to go over to the section right here that says human IK in the sidebar. And we're going to say right here, create control rig. And we're going to create the control rig, and we're just going to click create for it. Nice. So now we're going to start animating, and maybe take a minute to think about what you want your character to pose. We could do something simple, but to get familiar with it. So to help with being able to see the joints, we're going to go into the shading area right here. It's at the top of the window, shading. And then we're going to say X-ray joints. This will show you exactly all of the different bones in your character, so that way you can easily see them, so you can move them around when you're posing your character. Cool. So now that we have the skeleton exposed and we have our character is ready to be animated. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to rotate my character to face me, and yeah. Another important hotkey that you may want to know of is if you click on your character and then you click F, it frames it. So clicking F, it frames it so you can get a better view of your character, and you can see right here the cube. You can get a good view of your character from all angles. Yeah. So let's start with, we're just going to start by clicking on the 0 frame. So this is the timeline right here. This is where you're going to be animating your character. So like think about it like you're basically saying like each frame what you want the character to do. So we're going to go to like the 1 frame right here. I'm just going to shorten my timeline to like about 37 frames, so that way we can do like a shorter animation, and this will like make rendering take less time in the future. So we're going to click on the 1 right here, and then we're going to start animating. So I click the rotation tool, and I have a good front view of my character. And what I recommend is that when you're rotating the character, go by the joints. So think about like, you know, moving the shoulders, the wrists, the elbows, knees, those kind of things first, instead of like moving like actual like bone. And another thing I recommend is that you start from like the close to the joint that's like closest to the body. So like if I wanted to like do something with the arm, like maybe start with the shoulder, then go to the elbow, then the wrist. So like work from like inward outward when it comes to the body. Yeah. Cool. So I'm just going to click on this shoulder joint right here, and as you can see, when you click on the shoulder joint, the entire rest of the arm lights up, and we're just going to move it to the sides. So here we are, just slowly moving it. Yeah, we're just going to slowly move it. And then I'm just, for the other shoulder, doing the exact same thing, slowly moving it. Yeah. And as we can see right now, it's just standing with its arms to the side. Looking at it from all angles, if I like how it looks. Okay, so once we have a pose that you like, what you're going to do is that you're going to press your shift key, and you're going to press the plus arrow. So this will expose all of the different joints. And then you're going to start from the hips, scroll all the way down to the bottom, pressing the shift key so it selects all the characters, and then you're just going to press S. So this, pressing S is how you keyframe the animation. So as you can see now, at the first frame, it is hands down, and you see a little red line indicating that it is keyframed at this position. Cool, so now that we have our first pose, we're going to think like, okay, like what do you want your character to do next? So I'm planning to have my character like raise their arm like up like this. So the workflow when it comes to like using the timeline is that you want to click on where you want the frame to be first. So I just moved my mouse to like about 7. Well, yeah, let's just move it to like 9. And then you're going to pose your character. You cannot pose your character and then click the timeline, because then it will remove the animation. So you're going to click where you want the next spot on the timeline to be, and then we're going to start posing. So again, I'm going to go to the shoulder joint right here, and I'm going to move it up.
Yeah, so we're just looking at it.
So right now, So right now, my character is just raising its hand, but I also want her to maybe move the arm a little bit outwards. And also slightly curve this way maybe? Okay. So again, just take a look at how it looks from all angles. You might want to like work from behind, see how it looks this way. And then once you like how it looks, actually, I think I'm going to also curve it this way as well. Cool. So I decided to like move it up like this. And now again, we're going to do the same thing of going from the hips, from the top of the joints, all the way to the bottom by clicking shift to select all of them. And then we're going to press S to keyframe, like that. So now if we were to go to our timeline, and at the bottom right, you see right here the playback, like the play button. If you press it, you can see your character lifted up like this. So now I'm just going to about frame 15. And I think I'm just gonna have my character just slightly extend her arm out like that. And I'm just going to, again, it's really important that you make sure that you select everything and then keyframe it in the action, like that. So now we can again look, and these are the two motions that we have our character doing. And now I think I'm just going to have my character also just kick her leg. So it'll be kind of like, yeah. So I'm gonna start from the shoulder, from the hip, from like the leg joint, extend it a bit like this. And now I'm just going to move the knee like that. And also just extend it a bit so it's kicking forward. And actually, I think I'm going to move this a little bit this way. So again, I think especially when you're doing like leg kicking, definitely just check all sides so you're not like, for example, right here, I'm kind of like intersecting with my other leg. So just to make sure that it's like a real kick and it's not, and it doesn't look a little glitchy, I'm just going to think about the Z axis and extend it further a bit. See how that looks. And now I think I want to also just move the knee a bit inward, and then maybe this way. See how this looks from behind, and then the other side to make sure it's a nice, it's good from all angles. And then now that I have this like this, maybe slightly extend it, and yeah, okay, that looks okay. So now that it looks like this, and I'm at like about frame 28, we're going to again select all of the bones, and then click S. So right here, I've just keyframed about 4 different poses. And now I'm just going to play back to see how it all looks. Yeah. Admittedly, the up shoulder looks a little weird, but it's okay. Okay. And also, if you ever wanted to like delete it, like if you like, let's say if you like made a key, like did a keyframe that you don't like, just select it, and then you can just delete it. Right here it says delete, and you'll be able to delete the keyframe and then return to the other pose. Like I said, we have like about 30 frames of animation, and now let's say now we want to render this character. So when it comes to rendering, we're going to be using the Arnold renderer. Yeah. So the first thing that we want to do is that right now our scene does not have any lights. So so in Maya there are like a couple light options. If you go to the top right here, you'll see Arnold right here. You can also render in Maya. I can probably take you through those steps of how to like render in Maya.
Yeah, just open the render editor and you can choose a different renderer. Yeah, perfect.
But for rendering in Arnold, we're going to go to Arnold, and then we need to add a light to our scene so that it can be displayed. So first we can just see a Skydome. Yeah, we're just gonna add physical sky, so you'll see lights under Arnold, and then physical sky, and then this is just the basic light that Arnold has. And then in order to see what your character looks like in this light, you're going to go to the top right here, and then you'll see a camera with an eye. That is how you can open your render view. So you're gonna open it. Actually, let's all just like save our scene right now to just in case anything happens. So let's save this scene as ready to render. Okay. So right now, this is what our character looks like. In order to see what it looks like rendered, when you go to the render view, you're just going to click the icon at the top left, render current frame, and then you'll see your character. It's pretty dimly lit right now. I can show how to change the light exposure, that kind of stuff. Yeah. So this is what our character looks like rendered. But if we want to add maybe our own light to it, and we want to like add our own light, there's a feature, there's like certain lightings called HDRI lighting, which is basically like people already like come up with like what a room would look like if it's lit a certain way, and we can just download that from the internet. So what we're going to do is that we're going to go to this website called, so there's a website called HDRLabs.com. So if you go to HDRLabs.com, you will see a bunch of different like lighting scenes that have already been created. You know, if you have like your scene in mind and like what background you're going to use, it'll definitely be helpful to already have that pre-selected before you like pick your light. Today, let's say, okay, I feel like since I'm kind of using like a, Hollywood sign, perfect. Okay, so I'm downloading this one called Hollywood sign, and this is, yeah. And I'm just downloading it into the folder that I've already created for all of our scenes and that kind of stuff. So when I go to open this file, you're going to open it. It comes in a zip file, and you're just going to extract it like you would with any other file. And as you can see, well, the exact address that I'm at right now is hdrlabs.com/sibl/archive.html. So when we're in the Skydome Light area, we're going to click color, and then just like similar to the skins, click on File. And now that we have the file right here, we're going to go and search for where we had the HDRI image. So,
or wherever you put it, just find that.
Hollywood sign. And right now, I'm just going to use the ENV light option. I believe this creates the most natural one, and then like usually they have like 2K and 8K versions that are more dramatic. But we're first going to go for ENV version. So we're going to open that, and then this is it. And to see what this light looks like, we're going to click render, and then see how we like the look. So right now you can see that the light is very not as bright as I would like it to be. If you would like to change like how intense the light is, we can go to AI Skydome Light, and then we can raise up the intensity. Or we can also, we're going to scroll down and increase the exposure. Let's try like an exposure of about 3. And another thing that you can do is that you can increase the amount of samples that that you create, and increasing the samples will make it look clearer in the Arnold renderer. So let's say I do 3 samples, but also keep in mind that the more samples that you do, the more work it'll take to render. So be mindful of that. And now let's see how it looks like in the render view.
That's better.
Yeah, so this is better. It's rendering. And another thing, because we want to add our own image to the back of this, we're going to scroll down to camera, to the visibility section right here. Still in the AI Skydome section, we're going to scroll down to visibility, and we're going to put the camera to 0. This will make it there be no background, so that way it'll be more like a PNG, and then you can add your own background to it. So setting the camera to 0, when we set the camera to 0, we see once it renders that it's black, meaning that this will all be clear. Yeah. I think I might look at another light just to see if there's something brighter. So after like a couple of like tweaking with the exposure, it's closer to 1, and the intensity, I kind of like how this looks, this HDRI light looks. So now, now that I like the way the lighting looks and I've keyframed my character to my satisfaction, I'm now going to start the process of rendering. So what we first want to do is that we want to go into the render settings. The rendering settings is how we're going to create the files that will be exported into Photoshop later. So this part is very important. So we want to go into the image format, and we want it to be a TIF. So in file output, under image format, we're going to do TIF. And the next thing that we're going to change in the file output is we're going to change the frame and animation EXT. This is going to change, and we're going to change it to this format right here, #ampersand, I think it's called, and then .ext. So that's all we're changing for the file output. We're just making it a TIFF, and then we're changing the naming conventions.
Yeah, so export and put animation, each one is an image. Yeah.
And then next we're going to change the frame range. So we're going to start at frame 1, but we're going to change it to end at however many frames that you animated. I stopped my frames at 30, so I changed the end frame to 30 right here. So we're gonna start rendering from frame 1 and then end at frame 30. And then camera, we just use the perspective camera in this. And then also we want to change the width of our render view, because although because we really only need our character and we don't need all this empty space. So I'm gonna try changing the width to about maybe 400. I'm just gonna see what it looks like. I really just want a small rectangular box with just my character. I don't need all this extra space. It'll just take more time to render, and we don't want that. So I'm just trying to change the width to 400 by 500, see how that looks, and then I might make it lower or higher depending on the look. And that's it for the setting changes that we're going to be doing in the render settings. So we can close that, and now we're just going to re-render what it looks like. So as you can see, this is now a smaller box, which is better. And in order to render, what we're going to do is that in this render view right here, you see render, and we're going to go down to render sequence, and we're going to click this box just to double check that everything is okay. So as you can see, we have, we're going to be rendering our frame sequence now. So what we want to do is that we want to specify exactly where they should put the frames in, because it's going to render 30 images. So right here you see alternate output file location, and we're just going to say where we want it to be. So typically when you're rendering in Maya, it renders into the image section. And now let's just make a folder and call it take one, because sometimes it takes a few takes to get it. So now that we have the folder that we're going to be setting our rendering to, we're going to select, and it's rendering it to the right file. The correct camera is selected. So now we're going to click render sequence and close. So now what Maya is going to be doing is going to be rendering every single frame. Depending on how intricate your scene is, it may take more or less time. This is a fairly short and simple animation, so it will only take a couple minutes to render into the folder. Another thing, just to troubleshoot, if you're having issues showing your character, in order to render an Arnold, you need to change your materials to a Fong E type of material. I can just quickly go over that before we move on to Photoshop. So if you ever are having issues and your figure will not show up in Maya, you may have to change it. So you'll click on your character, you'll go all the way to the end, and then type. This type is Lambert, but you will be able to click it, and then it will say Fong E, and then that should fix some issues that you may have. So my sequence is finished rendering. After we're done using Maya, so I'm just going to save my scene, saving it, and we're done using Maya for this part. So next we're going to open up Photoshop. And what we're going to do is that we're going to open a file. And we're going to find where did we render out all of the images that we just, all the frames that we just produced. So I have it stored. So in your Maya scene, you will go to the image section right here. I had this stored in the folder called Take One. And you're going to click on the first frame of the image. So it'll be the name that you selected, _1.000. So this will be the first frame in our sequence. And then this is the important part. After you click the first frame, you're going to click image sequence at the bottom area right here. So then this will open up, and then you can also click the frame rate. The higher the frame rate, the slower it will be. But you can also change that later on. So we're just going to go with 30 frames that we rendered. And opening it. So now Photoshop is opening up our image sequence that we just made. Cool. So right here, just gonna zoom in. So this is the character that we rendered. Oh yeah, window. Gonna scroll all the way down to timeline in Photoshop. That's going to show us the timeline. And then now we can see our character. Oh my gosh, it's so pixelated. That's why the more samples you do, the better. It'll be better to view. But as you see right here, this is your character that you just animated and it's doing the motion. So I'm going to find a photo that we like to be our background. I have this photo right here of the Hollywood sign, and I'm just going to drag it into the scene. And I'm just going to bring up the timeline so you can see what I'm working with. So we want to make sure that the photo is below. Yeah, so basically what we want to do is that we want to drag this layer. Now it's on top of our thing, but we want to drag it below. Basically what we have to do is that we're going to make sure that it's outside of the video group, and then you'll see your character clearly on top of your background image. So right here we have our character standing like about here by the Hollywood sign, and now let's just click play to see how it looks. So, oh yes, another thing is that you want to make sure that your background is the same length as your sequence. So we're just going to drag it so that it's the same length, because if it's not, then you're just going to have like a bunch of dead space. So as you can see, this is how long my animation is, so this is how long the background is on the screen. And
that looks great.
Yeah, so right here, so now we have our character doing the pose in front of the Hollywood sign. And yeah, so now that we like the way we look, we were able to position it, all that good stuff. The next thing that we're going to do is that we're going to export this.
Yeah,
Yes, we're going to export. Oh yes, export save for web.
Legacy.
Again, we want to export it as a legacy and then save here. And now when we click, when we go and find our file.
It would be untitled, yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
so,
look at it.
So as you can see right here, we've exported our product as a GIF, and we have it doing the animation that we animated. Yeah, so that was the end of the tutorial. I'll just go back to myself. Looking forward, you can start playing with Mixamo animations if you like to do that. And I basically learned all this stuff in the class Virtual Avatars that's taught here by the professor Leah Rowe. She's really like helpful when it comes to animating in Maya, and like it was a really fun class. And this is like a feature on like things that you could do. This was my final for the class. I did like a little fashion show using like animation. So like this is like what you could do, and you could like start playing around with that stuff. This one I also like learned how to do like some camera work. So this is like the introductory to Maya, and then like you can go on to do stuff like this and more things. So yeah.
That is
yeah,
so cool.
Thank you for coming. Make sure you check out the XR Lab for more tutorials and resources regarding animation and all things XR related.